Everybody. My name is Margaret Nedow, and I am the Vice President of First Generation Professionals of Milwaukee. And today with me, I have JJ Brizendine. He has spent the better part of a decade building his career around the power of meaningful connections, working across the full spectrum to corporate recruiting, everything from finding the right candidates and leading interviews to reshaping entire hiring strategies. His experiences span the tech world, leadership development groups, Audible, and now Manpower Group. No matter the role or company, as a first-generation professional, JJ has stayed focused on one thing: helping people find opportunities that truly fit their skills and goals. And today, he's joining us to speak about his first-gen journey and to share real-world advice for other first-generation professionals entering a tough and unique job market. So JJ, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about this opportunity and hope I can share a little bit of knowledge for all the other first-gen professionals that are out there. Yeah, I have a very unique kind of walkthrough for my professional journey, and it started even in kind of my college years. I'd always told everybody I was going to go to Oklahoma State University, and there's no other way other than an act of God that told me to go to University of Central Oklahoma. And so I ended up going there and got into the last semester of my college journey and said, I don't want to do journalism. And that threw a really big curveball into kind of the plans that I had already set forth and had ready to go. I think that in college, they always, what's your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan? I'm a month away from graduating and I don't even have a 1-week plan. So it made it very interesting going through this entire process to then get to, well, what do you do now? And what it really turned into was utilizing my network that I had existed through the leadership organization that I was a part of in college. And from there, I ended up being offered my first job where I got to go to different colleges across the United States to kind of help them bring up their programs that they had in place. From there, I moved here to Milwaukee to start my role as a recruiter in the IT space, which I had that job through my ex-girlfriend at the time. She had a friend who knew somebody in that role. So a lot of very interesting paths to get to kind of where I am today now at Manpower Group. And I think it's one of my favorite aspects of life that I get to hang out with people. I tell people all the time I get paid to yap, which is a dream job for me.
Since you had pivoted away from that initial pursuit in journalism, has that pivot and that process to where you are kind of shaped how you approach your current role?
When I'm interviewing people, I'm not trying to just say, okay, what did you work on? Great. How long have you done that? It's, hey, you're looking for a sales position right now. Why? What is your favorite aspect of working in sales? Who inspired you to go down this route? And truly learning the person, because I think that in the market that we're in today, personality will set you apart from skills and the timeline of how much you've spent into something. That's not to say experience isn't beneficial. A lot of companies are looking for people with those soft skills.
Pivoting just a smidgen on that, there's a lot of emerging professionals that are in that similar boat to where you were and are reconsidering their career and their various paths within it. So what advice would you have for them if they're trying to kind of pivot like you have?
The first bit is talk to somebody who knows you better than you know yourself. I spoke with my mother about it. I know that even some of my colleagues from college, they spoke to their life partner. They spoke to their grandparents. In really talk to them about what are their thoughts and ideas on that, because they're going to provide a pretty unique perspective on it, and they're not in it. When you're in the process looking for the job, trying to figure out the stress, so they can provide a clear, uninterrupted advice on it, I would say. And then I think secondly, if there are other individuals that are going to be looking in a route that they didn't go to school for, you have got to make sure that when your university or your program, your vocational school offers a career fair, go meet every table, go meet every person that's there, because even one interaction is enough to get your foot in the door. I think that there's a study out there that says within the first 30 seconds, people already know if they like you or not. And so those first impressions are super vital. And you don't need to have 130-minute conversations with people for them to remember you. Shake a hand, explain who you are, what you're doing, and then ask them for their advice. They will remember that conversation. So those are my two recommendations.
Yeah, that is really good advice. I think like oftentimes our careers also follow our personal passions in one way or another. So are there any personal passions that have guided you towards your career in recruiting that you have today?
Yeah, absolutely. I love learning about people. I love talking to people, because I personally think that every connection you make is a different perspective of the world that you may not have had prior to that. And so when I get to wake up in the morning and I see that I get to make 8 new friends today, that's so exciting to me. And I will also be honest, I might not be able to help that person, but because I had that conversation, I can point them to another person to have a conversation with. And so being able to utilize my network to help people and get to just make friends.
Shifting gears a little bit into your professional life and role that you have now, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do at Manpower Group and what keeps you in that corporate recruitment industry as a whole beyond what you've already shared with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. So on my kind of like day to day, I am focusing on reaching out to the current talent market that's there, then typically setting up a call, usually over Teams, learning about their skills, goals, and interests, see if it aligns with what we are looking for in this current market. From there, typically putting together essentially a note package as well as their resume, presenting that to the hiring manager, and communicating to them why this person's worth at least an interview. So then from there, it's say that I do that and I get the green light from the hiring manager that they would like to set up an interview. I typically do some interview prep with the candidate saying, hey, this is kind of what we usually will see in an interview with whatever section of Manpower Group that I'm working on that day. Then it's up to the candidate, and they go through the process, typically 2 to 3 rounds, but I'm kind of their go-to person on the inside until we get to an offer stage. And then I kind of have to shift a little bit over to a benefits expert, walk them through kind of what to expect, and then hand everything over to the onboarding team once they say that they accept the offer. And that's kind of the day-to-day of what my role looks like. The only other things that might be a little different is going through our applicant tracking system, or ATS for short. If you ever hear that, that's what that means. And just looking through to see what qualified candidates applied to the role that I'm working on.
Well, thank you for sharing about what your day-to-day is like. I think For a lot of our first generation members, they're either intending to pursue or have recently begun their professional careers. And first question on that front is, I'm sure factors of the current job market make this more challenging than when you initially started, maybe in the recruiting industry, one of those being AI. So how has AI impacted the recruitment and the professional world, for better or worse?
So I think that maybe even going back a little bit too, of when I first started in this position or in the recruiting world back in 2020 and moving to kind of where we are today. In 2020, I think artificial intelligence was something that a lot of people were saying that it was coming. And when it comes, you better be 4 steps ahead of it, or you're going to get left behind. And at that time, I was probably 25 and quickly learned that AI is here. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, but it is evolving too. And so with where we're at now in it, it makes my job a little bit more difficult, and there are aspects that it makes it very easy. So where it's difficult is on the side of every person's resume, every person's cover letter has some level of AI put into it. And I have been looking at resumes enough in my life that I know when a resume was entirely built by AI with minimal input from the individual. We still want a person that is going to put in the effort and the work that goes into not only making a resume, but then getting through the process, going through the interview, and being in the job itself. Now, on the positive side, I have seen less bad resumes since people have started using AI for it. I applaud that. I'm very thankful. I remember days where I got a resume that said professional job seeker since 2021. And it's like, it is 2024. What does that even mean? Now seeing that AI can be able to impact it and give you a little bit more context, even if it's you owned a small business that was mowing yards, there's going to be a better substance into the resume.
That's great feedback. And thank you for being honest about the bad and the good of it. I think piggybacking off of that in this kind of smarter, not harder world, and that's how kind of AI has helped people play into things a little bit. What are some, aside from AI, skills that you notice are strong with recent graduating classes, and what skills would you encourage grads to work on a little bit more, maybe that they didn't get fully hammered out in college?
So we're getting on the end of the people who were in college during COVID. We're now getting to the high schoolers who were affected by COVID, still like going into college. And those 2 years without personal interaction, I think there was a lot of lost art in interpersonal skills. And so I think that the ability to communicate effectively, as well as knowing how to carry a conversation, are 2 very important things that I think everybody's looking for. I worked in a leadership development group that focused with Gen Z specifically, and there is a preconceived notion that Gen Z doesn't know how to talk to people. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but there are elements that if this generation just learns how to talk to people, they're going to go way farther than the individuals who like to communicate through their cell phone. I'm going to do a little plug of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Very old book, very easy read. Highly recommend it to every person ever. And you can learn a lot just in that little 200-page book about how to interact with other humans on a day-to-day basis.
Well, thank you for sharing that resource. I think that'll be helpful for a lot of the people that see this. I think also there's a lot of trends that flow through the professional and corporate world. And there's always some markers of things in the industry. So what do you see are the trends and markers to know where the recruitment industry and professional industry might be going as a whole within the next 12 to 18 months regarding applicant tracking systems and, just the broad strokes of it all?
Margaret, I wish I had a real answer for you on that. And the reason that I say that is in the recruiting world, it's not just whether a company has the money to hire. You have to take a step back and look at the economy. You have to look at the trends of even the stock market. You have to assess what are the roles that are super necessary right now. And so for me to say, what do I think the next 12 to 18 months is going to look like? I think I could tell you it's going to be great and be completely wrong. Or I could say, I think we're going to be in the same exact situation and I'm going to be completely wrong. And the reason that I say that specifically, from my time working at Audible, I got hired on as a contractor and was doing a very well job and was being told that they wanted to bring me on full time to be an employee with them. I went through the interview process with them, and they told me that they were actually going to hit pause on the hiring of bringing anybody on. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just continue to do my job. No worries. I was laid off 2 weeks later. Even though that I was still working, doing my job and moving in the path that I thought was going to get me to be brought on, I actually lost my job. And when they communicated that to us, they told us it was because of an economical downturn. And that's kind of what today looks like. You don't know who's going to be impacted. You don't know who's going to be hiring next in the current situation that we are in. The positives that I will bring to the table as well, though, companies are always going to need people. And if you find a company that you are wanting to work for, you need to make as many connections as you can at that company, even if it's as simple as going onto somebody's LinkedIn or going onto a company LinkedIn and adding every person that works at that company, no matter what they do, because all it takes is one of them to talk to you and you'll be able to find another way into where you want to be.
As an additional layer to that, though, based on where we're at and not knowing what to do, maybe if somebody does do all the right things and then they end up getting laid off like you had been, there's this myth that if somebody applies to a job, it goes into a vortex and nobody ever knows what happens to it and they might never hear back. So, now that you're in a role where you're doing that recruiting portion, what actually happens behind the scenes and what's the why of being rejected or accepted to move forward in that process?
When you go to apply to any given role, it gets submitted in through whatever that company's applicant tracking system is. Some of them, they don't notify the recruiter that somebody applied unless that person logs in, goes into their dashboard, and sees every person that has applied. When that does happen and the individual does look, most of us already have a threshold that, and this is just being super transparent, while the job description will say need 2 to 3 years experience, our hiring managers are saying, no, I need somebody for this specific role to have 5 to 6 years doing ABC as well as XYZ. While your experience matches and fits to the initial job description, we are dealing on the talent acquisition side that some hiring officials are looking for the purple unicorn and they don't want to exert any additional energy unless it's speaking with that purple unicorn. A lot of talent acquisition people, recruiters that are going to be working in the behind the scenes there, we are actively sourcing for our candidates ourselves. We're sending messages out. We're trying to communicate that way because we are the human element of hiring. And so we want to be able to have that connection. We want to be able to interact with those people. If I can send you a message, Margaret, and you say yes, I'm more excited about that conversation to happen than somebody who had applied I just sent an email to and then hope that they show up to the interview. The third piece of that, if you apply to a job and you never hear back, that's on the talent acquisition team. For the individuals that are looking to get in with a specific company, or if they are just trying to get a job, on LinkedIn, some of the spots are going to have, this is the hiring person on that. Feel free to shoot them a message. I will say that that most people who shoot me a message, they are at least going to get a response from me. Whether that is a message replying back saying, hey, actually this position has been filled, or hey, there's currently 4 candidates that are in the process right now. And so I think even messaging the person attached to the job is worth it. I think secondly, not tying the job description to your resume, but putting in elements from your experience that match the job description itself can get you a step up. And then I think thirdly, most companies don't look at cover letters anymore. And maybe I'm wrong, but I've worked for now 4 different recruiting companies, and nobody has ever asked as a hiring manager, let me see their cover letter.
That is news to me for sure. The world is changing. Can you share some do's and don'ts of interviewing once you get there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first one, no matter what your recruiter, the individual who's interviewing says, dress up. I do not care if you look better than the person interviewing you. They like that. I think another do is do send those thank you notes. They show a level of interest and excitement that even with my hiring managers that I'm working with today, when we're discussing candidates and what next steps can look like, they'll ask me, hey, has candidate A followed up with you? Has candidate A sent anything? And if I say, no, actually, I haven't heard anything from them. And they go, that's weird. They interviewed on Monday. Pass. We're moving on. Even if they had a good conversation, because there wasn't any sort of follow-up, any sort of thank you note, it's like that says more about your character than what the interview had said. Couple don'ts that I would highly recommend. If it is a video interview, please, please, please do not take it from your phone. There is nothing more distracting than a cell phone falling in the middle of an interview or getting notifications while you're taking an interview. And I will say that another don't take if it's a video interview, don't take your interview in a Starbucks. Don't take it in your car. Give the interviewer your undivided attention. Those would be kind of my quick 2 do's, 2 don'ts that I would recommend to anybody interviewing.
You were once a first generation professional in their shoes, so being part of this whole process that is the professional world as a first gen, what does being first gen mean to you?
I think being first gen is something that I truly love about myself. I grew up in a small town in Oklahoma with limited connections. We didn't have a lot growing up, and when I got the opportunity to go to college, I had always said, I'm getting out of my hometown. And so then I went to college, got out of there. And as soon as I finished college, I said, I'm getting out of the state of Oklahoma. And I did it within 6 months of graduating. I moved from Oklahoma to Indianapolis. Being able to do that, I think that I have not only made myself proud, but I know that I've made my family proud. It's truly something that every individual who is a first generation should give themselves not only a pat on the back, but also a badge of respect, because it's tough. There's a lot of times where even now I need to talk to my mom about benefits, and I'll ask a question and she's like, I don't know what that is. I've never had that as a question asked to me. And so it's a lot of figuring out how to do world by yourself. It's a level that doesn't get talked about enough. Everybody give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah, for sure. I think on that note, thank you so much for sharing all of your insight on this today. I think it's been a great conversation, and I think I want to take us home with one question we love to ask in all of our community leader interviews, and that's, what do you love about Milwaukee? What's brought you here? What keeps you here? What's your favorite thing?
What has kept me here has really been the people that I have met who are now my family away from Oklahoma. The people here care, and it's from the first conversation you have. They will do what they can to support you. And then I think secondly, my most favorite thing about Milwaukee are the breweries and the beer selection, to be honest.
That's fair.
It's a great city to be in if you're a beer enthusiast, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here and for helping our membership prepare to navigate this job market, and for sharing all of your best practices on how to do that. Where can our membership find you to connect?
Yeah. Find me on LinkedIn. It's J. and then Brizendine. Kind of a difficult last name, but Brizendine. If any of them have questions about the market, or even want to do any little bit of interview prep, I'm more than happy to help somebody out with that.
Well, thank you so much again. And I think we'll close out. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you.